Well, continuing on, the same scholars who say they believe that Section 4 was formulated to keep politicians from holding the debt hostage in order to impose their political will on the nation. Well, that was largely effective up until this year. The House stumbled in an attempt to solve the problem yesterday. Sources said that Boehner had been struggling to come up with enough votes in the GOP for it, even though the Ohio Republican himself said the idea of default is wrong. So he does have some morality after all, albeit running through his cold, hard veins. The House proposal no longer attacks major parts of the Affordable Care Act, but does prohibit federal authorities, or rather federal subsidies to federal lawmakers and their staff receiving health insurance through the Affordable Care Act programs. The House proposal also would have forbidden the Treasury from taking what it calls extraordinary measures to prevent the federal government from defaulting as cash runs low, in effect requiring hard deadlines to extend the federal debt ceiling. Well, House Democrats have said they would not support the House funding proposal, and it is unpopular with some Republican representatives who see no spending cuts in it. It just kicks the can down the road for another 6 weeks to 2 months at best. That's according to Representative Joe Barton, Republican representative from the state of Texas. There is no sign that it would receive the 217 votes necessary to pass the House. The President, though, is expected to meet with Treasury Secretary Jack Lew today, who's been looking for creative ways to cover U.S. financial obligations as the debt ceiling comes down. Yesterday, the President called for House Republicans to do what's right by reopening government and ensuring the United States can pay its bills. We don't have a lot of time. But the President acknowledged Boehner's difficulty in getting his fellow House Republicans on the same page. And this to me says that House Speaker John Boehner was a bad choice to be House Speaker, or in particular to be a spokesman for his political party. Now, you're not always going to get your constituents to agree with you. But if you're their boss or their representative or their leader, there are certain concessions that have to be made, okay? But they're more interested in saving face than doing what's right for the country. Negotiating with me isn't necessarily good for the extreme faction in his caucus, the President said, referring to the Tea Party and its conservative allies. And it just weakens him, as he's said repeatedly. So, there have been repeated situations where we have agreements, then he goes back, and it turns out that he can't control his caucus. Now, according to multiple sources, the House plan would have called for funding the government through December 15th to end the partial shutdown. It also would have increased the federal debt ceiling until February 7th. Again, not long-term solutions, so we're going to be back in the same situation again in 2 months if this plan were to be approved today. Basically, it just bought us a couple of months. Well, this GOP plan may not be dead. As he left the Capitol, House Majority Leader Eric Cantor of Virginia said only that there would be no votes tonight. We'll see you in the morning. Now, the rumored Senate proposal would give Republicans some concessions while being closer to what Obama and fellow Democrats have long pushed for regarding government funding and the debt ceiling. None of the proposals so far have offered a grand bargain that would fund government and allow for the borrowing for more than a few months. So at best, the solutions we come up with are just temporary. And this is a sick, vicious cycle that we are in. And speaking of a sick, vicious cycle that we're in, the federal government shutdown is trickling down more and more into our lives. One of my communications teachers from college and a good friend of mine, Gary Reese, posted this on Facebook roughly about an hour ago. from the state of Arkansas, from Fayetteville, Arkansas. A total of 19 employees at the University of Arkansas. 19 employees at the University of Arkansas. That's 8 faculty members and 11 staff members received furlough notices Monday evening. This past Monday evening, October 14th. All 19 were to receive pay from National Science Foundation or NASA grants, but the university is unable to draw funds from those grants as a result of the government shutdown. Just 3 days prior to that, last Friday, Arkansas Governor Mike Beebe issued an order that if the federal funds were not available as of October 15th, which was yesterday, the affected employees would have to be furloughed until the end of the federal shutdown. 19 people who have a job just aren't getting paid for it. Of the 19 affected employees, 10 received 90 or 100% of their salary from federal funds and are on full furlough. So for those of you that believe that, well, we don't need those 800,000 workers anyway, the government doesn't need them, we're able to function without them, to you I say horse hockey. That is bullshit. What if you were one of these 19, or one of these 800,000 who's suddenly without a job? I agree there could be some cutbacks in certain programs, but why are so many innocent people being hurt while a bunch of egotistical men hundreds of miles away don't give a shit about you? But we still need them anyway. Pardon my French, and I am trying to clean up my language, but there are some things that just get under my skin, and the only way I know how to get rid of it is to dig it out. So I will try to clean up my language. I apologize. But sometimes things just get me so aggravated that I just can't understand. You know you have to do the right thing, but you're still not doing the right thing. That you care more about your political party or your own agenda than you do. And it may be cheesy, but a tenet of Vulcan philosophy from Star Trek, yes, it's another Star Trek reference, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. It is a tenet that I have abided by for over 30 years. And in most situations, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. The rest of the money will be the rest of the staff will be on partial furlough, since they only receive a portion of their salaries from federal funding. Now, those portions range from 3% federal funding to 67%. 2 faculty members will lose only the extra compensation they receive from the federal grants, in addition to their university salary for the duration of the shutdown. They have 80 students whose work is funded through the federal research grants. 80 students. To give you an idea, in my high school class, I believe there were roughly about 40 of us that graduated in 1990. A little less. I think it was around 38. For some reason, 38 sticking in my mind. So double my high school class. That's what we're looking at here. Now, Jim Rankin, Vice Provost for Research and Economic Development, said their colleges and departments have been able to find alternate funding for them and work assignments, and no students have been furloughed. So there's some good news in that department, okay, in that area. But furloughed employees will receive health care benefits through at least the rest of the month. But by the end of the month, thanks to screw-ups in the system, they probably won't qualify, because on paper they still technically earn that money, even though they aren't getting paid it. But since you're still gainfully employed, it'll be a while before they can even qualify to even be considered for government subsidies to get compensation to buy a plan in the Affordable Care Act. Not something I'm very happy about either. And I'm a strong advocate of the Affordable Care Act. Now, if the furlough lasts much longer, as I said, they'll need to arrange for alternate health care coverage and should contact the Office of Human Resources for help. But as I said, they probably won't qualify because technically on paper, they're still gainfully employed. All right. Well, let's see. I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about in terms of the government shutdown. I haven't spent a whole lot of time in recent days talking about it because not a whole lot has been made. And it's just a rehash of things that have been said. This pissing contest continues. And there I go again with the language. But another thing that bothers me, story I brought up yesterday in regards to what's going on in Maryville, Missouri. General overview, a lot of national attention has been focused on the 2012 sexual assault case after reports in the Kansas City Star led the hacker group Anonymous to target the case. In an official statement from one of its members, we demand an immediate investigation into the handling by local authorities of Daisy's case. Daisy was a girl who was raped by a prominent football player, by several football players, I believe, a year and a half ago. And thanks to his connections with being the grandson and son of a prominent area politician, namely the prosecuting attorney, we'll just let this case go. Now, I did read a tweet that from the prosecutor who said that, well, we followed this case through and through, and the parents didn't want to agree to certain aspects of the investigation, yada yada yada. I'm thinking, you know what? You could have filed charges on behalf of the state to prosecute this scum. Just because the family didn't want to cooperate, there were other ways you could have prosecuted this case. Daisy doesn't deserve this. She may have acted inappropriately, but she did not deserve to be raped. No one, regardless of your gender, your background, deserves that kind of punishment. You go talk to a rape victim. And I retract a statement I said about justice a few weeks ago. Namely, in that I felt that justice is a process. I was wrong. Justice is not only a process, but it must vindicate, it must help protect the innocent and destroy the people that are out to destroy others, whether through economic means or through physical harm. This girl did not deserve that. You're tarnishing her memory. So now I implore you to contact the Attorney General's office, because the state of Missouri is getting involved, or should get involved in this. Prosecutor Rice's own words, that he's now playing the court of, you had your chance before and now it's gone. Well, the family wants the case reopened. Regardless of what they said before, they want that case reopened. I can't believe the family wanted to close it. They may want to put the matter behind them, but not without prosecuting the scum that raped this girl. Well, Rice has had the ability to do that, but he refuses. So let's put the pressure on this guy. You and me. Get your friends around involved in this. The pressure needs to be put on the one responsible to make a change for justice to occur. And at this point, that's Prosecutor Robert Rice. Okay? Call his office, and I've got his phone number here, thanks to my friend Courtney Cole, and demand that he do the right thing and turn the case over to the Attorney General's office. So I'll give you time to get pencil and paper ready to jot down the number. And if that doesn't work, I think Rice should be thrown out of office for not doing his job. You're there to protect the people of your county, and you're not doing your job, sir. That number for Robert Rice's office is 660, that's the area code, 660-582-8285. Excuse me, 660-582-8285. 660-582-8285. So it's time to get some justice for this young lady. She deserves it. Okay? I will never understand rape. I know it's about power and domination, and I guess that is the farthest thing from my mind. I just can't inflict that kind of harm on anyone. And I have very little respect for people that don't fight perpetrators of that crime, or the people that refuse to go after the perpetrators of that crime. Let's see here.